Dr. Ashok Lahiri, who's been in and out of government in different capacities, worked on various budgets. In the way that you would see things, from what we've picked up from the economic survey, what do you think, Dr. Lahiri, are likely to be the key touch points of the Modi government budget?
Rahul, I'm very happy that you asked this question, but before I answer that, I want to go to the first thing that you said, and I'm very happy about that, that under-promising and over-delivering. I remember very well that there was a discussion with President Zardari of Pakistan, and he asked me, what is the prospect of this region? I thought that he's asking about Asia. I said, Asia has come, this is the Asian century. He said, what about this region? I said, this region, I don't know. He said, why? He said, because politicians promise a lot, deliver little. So this one is a welcome change. And the second question that you asked about what should the government do? Should it actually try to sort of give more fiscal, have more fiscal deficit and spend more? I think spending more is a natural proclivity of politicians. So you don't have to tell them spend more.
And you say Prime Minister Modi also has that proclivity? Is that what you're saying?
So far, he hasn't displayed that. So far, what he has done, this government, apart from the COVID year, when the fiscal deficit went up to 9.2%.
That's the problem, Mr. Iyer, because that's what the market wants. I have to say, from the market standpoint, even we understand fiscal deficit and everything, but they want to see a push.
No, but push. Tell me 1 year when you can find the government or some people not saying spend more and have more fiscal deficit.
Shankar, I want to take that point, Rahul, very quickly about, do you agree with this view that the Modi government has been confused about Manrega?
You have to go back to the history of Manrega. Manrega came out of a drought relief program in Maharashtra in Sangli district called the Employment Guarantee Scheme. It was meant to be the paracetamol to get over the fever of drought and unemployment. Over a period of time, when it was launched during Manmohan Singh's regime, it was meant to be a sustenance relief. Over a period of time in the last few years, we've seen this become the bridge between the gap in employment in the at the intersection of the rural and urban economy. And so the money has been spent. The Modi government has tried to make it more efficient, more asset-based and stuff like that. But you can't run away from the fact that 151 million people are registered on the rolls. And that says something about the state of the rural economy and the need to move people out of the trenches of agriculture where there is overemployment or disguised unemployment.
You know, the biggest question, of course, is what are India's growth prospects? And the economic survey provides the forecast. And the interesting thing is, it also came on a day when the International Monetary Fund put out global forecasts. Now, if you look at this data set that's on your screen, the economic survey predicts that the Indian economy will grow at 6.5% next year, which is about 50 basis points less than the growth for the current fiscal, which is FY23, which is at 7%, which is less than last year. But the interesting and important thing here is that the whole specter of a global recession now seems to be making way for a slowdown. In Europe and in the United States, there's a sense that they could potentially narrowly escape a slowdown. 6.5 is down from last year. The opposition thinks this isn't good enough, but think of it like a really tough pitch to bat on, where everybody else is falling like 9 pins, and India is still, Dr. Lahiri, growing at 6.5%. Is that as good as India can be, or a little less than where it should be, given everything else that's happening in the world around us?
I think no growth rate can be good enough for India because we are so far away from where we should be. But 6.5% given the world economy, as you know, for geopolitical, energy and economic reasons, is many people are suggesting that there is going to be a recession. And if there is going to be a recession, we are not immune or sort of shielded from there. 6.5% I think is fairly good.
Those are the global growth estimates put out by the International Monetary Fund in its report on the global economic outlook that came out yesterday. China is bouncing back because they've opened on the back of a multi-year COVID lockdown. the United States potentially avoiding the specter of a recession, Europe not as badly impacted, which essentially suggests, Shankar, potentially, that some of the gloom and doom that we've seen around the global economy may be making way for very cautious optimism?
Well, much of it has to do with China reopening, and because China is 5.2, there are economists at Evercore who have projected 6.4, 6.3% growth for China. What we need to recognize is this is both a good and a bad. The good is because this helps our external sector in the sense of exports and all, but the bad is that this will push up materials prices, and that means that higher crude prices, higher commodity prices, and that because our currency and current account deficit is where it is, it's going to be a tough balancing
But Russia will continue to help India when it comes to crude, Shankar.
Well, you have one aspect of that, Russia continuing to help on crude. But our own consumption is not only Russia. We are also importing from Saudi, and we are importing LNG also. So, and most important, we are importing a lot more coal than we did in 2014.